Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Hawks Film Room podcast hosted by David Lee. Please make sure that you like, subscribe, add the podcast on any sort of platforms that you use. Tell someone about the show to steal what Brad Rowland says. But man, a big win from the Hawks tonight. 122 to 117 over the Phoenix Suns without Jalen Johnson or DeAndre Hunter. Coming into this game, they were 3-8 without DeAndre Hunter, and they were 2-4 without Jalen Johnson. Going up against a team with some really talented shot makers without two of their bigger bodies to put on someone like Kevin Durant or even a Devin Booker or Bradley Beal. A gutsy win from the guys tonight, and a nice step in the right direction. Although I will say with the caveat that Phoenix is really bad right now, particularly defensively. They're really weak in the interior. They don't really have any sort of semblance of shot blocking, and on the glass they're really weak as well. So they recently decided to bench Yusuf Nurkic, which by all means was a good decision. And the reason why I said it's a good decision is because the numbers heavily support this Suns team, which again it has not been very good this season, being demonstrably better with Nurkic off the floor. So when you look at these numbers, right, you have uh, Yusuf Nurkic is a -7. So Phoenix is 7 points worse with him on the floor versus off. And across the board, they're pretty bad. Now, the one place that he was really helping this team was on the defensive glass. So teams were he was having a massive impact on their opponent's offensive rebound percentage, where they were getting 7% less of those opportunities. And that was somewhere where the Hawks came in tonight, back on their home floor, and they really showed out in that respect. And that was led by Onyeka Okongwu. He had 10 offensive rebounds tonight, which was more than any Sun had total rebounds. So he completely shifted this game by himself on the rebounding glass, on the rebounding battle. Last Thursday in Phoenix, Phoenix was a +10 on the glass and posted a 35 offensive rebound percentage, which means 35% of their possessions they grabbed the offensive rebound. Tonight, Atlanta was a +17 and held Phoenix to just a 17.6 offensive rebound percentage. The interesting thing is Nurkic didn't play in this game either. The Hawks just came with a lot more fire. Onyeka in particular was playing like a man possessed. I tweeted during the game that maybe he heard that some people said that he isn't the center of the future, and obviously there are still some stipulations about whether he can be that, considering the way this roster is constructed. But when he plays bigger than what he's listed at, you can really see his potential to be a mainstay on the Hawks roster, and that's exactly what he did tonight. And honestly, like the Hawks do not win this game without him. Another big thing, the Hawks got 34 points from Vit Krejci and Garrison Matthews. Both of those guys shot above 60% from the field. Of course, Garrison Matthews got his shots up from three, but he also had some pretty convincing cuts to the rim. He finished with 3 free throws, which again is kind of a rarity for a guy like Garrison, who's a +18 tonight. And then, of course, Trae Young, 43 points in 38 minutes on 31 shots, took 12 threes, made half of them, and also went 11 of 14 from the free throw line. Honestly, I don't know if I've ever seen more in and out misses from a player. Like he probably should have had 50 tonight if the rims weren't so unforgiving. Also, I don't know what it was. I don't know if anyone went to the game tonight that's listening. It sounded like the rims were either tuned up or they added a different mic because the misses were loud. But yeah, pretty good game for the Hawks tonight. Again, I don't want to over exaggerate to this particular one or to any particular performance because Phoenix is awful, awful at defending right now. Um, it and again, I think Trae is finding his step or his footing a bit more as a scorer. He's getting to his spots a little bit easier. Doesn't look like Achilles is bothering him as much as it was earlier in the year. And I think as his outside shot is coming more into play, it's just going to be tougher and tougher for defenses to guard him, especially a team like Phoenix that doesn't really have a guy who can stick with him. Ryan Dunn is one of my favorite prospects that I've ever watched. Like I really love that kid. I love the way he's grown as offensive player, and I love the role he stepped into for Phoenix. But it's a lot to ask him to guard Trae Young. And so, just to give you an idea of how bad they are defensively, they're one of the worst in terms of guarding half court sets. So they're 21st in transition. They're below average as well. They're pretty bad on off-ball screens, handoff, DHOs, and cuts. Those are all bottom 5 in the NBA. And I think those are all pretty good indicators that they don't stay attached to guys. They don't fight through screens. They don't have a sense of pride or a sense of urgency defensively. And you can see the Hawks exploit that pretty well tonight. And The other thing, Trae Young, of course, with his 43 points, he also drew 10 fouls tonight. So that's tied for the third, tied for the second most that he's drawn this season. His career high for fouls drawn in a single game is 16. But when he can get those shots at the line and find that offensive rhythm early on, I think it's obviously puts a lot more stress on the defense. I noticed that he was able to keep Ryan Dunn in jail a lot, despite Ryan Dunn being a much bigger player than him, because of the threat of fouling him and the fouls he's able to draw earlier on in the game. Uh, so, without further ado, let's jump into the film. We'll talk a little bit about like Trae's scoring outburst, but I want to start with Onyeka Okongwu, particularly um, his performance on the glass tonight, because I really just think that was a phenomenal sort of showing from him and a very encouraging thing, and hopefully something that he can do a little bit more consistently for this Hawks team. Um, 1 second, go to offense. And then we're going to look particularly at these offensive rebounds. Um, like I said, Phoenix is not good on the glass by any means, particularly without Nurkic. The dude is kind of a negative in every other sense, but Onyeka was absolutely destroying them on the glass. So the biggest issue with Phoenix with Nurkic is not on the floor is that their options are Mason Plumlee and also Iguodala. Mason Plumlee is not an NBA player, in my opinion. He can be tenable, but he's not overly physical. And when he's not on the floor, they're running out lineups like these. You're asking a lot of Kevin Durant. Last season, he was really good as a weak side rim protector, but as the only big on the floor, you're going to get these cross matches when guys are able to come off screens. So here, Bogey gets downhill off the curl. He kicks it out. Ricochet takes his three. KD needs to find a body. He needs to find the biggest body. He doesn't. And Bradley Beal ends up having a foul on Onyeka on the offensive rebound. So I think Onyeka was very opportunistic with the lack of size on the floor. One thing that I always love that he does are these little Gortat screens. So here Dyson's going to get downhill, and as Dyson gets downhill, you're going to see Onyeka right here, right? He's kind of screening off Mason Plumlee a bit, and then that opens up a little bit more room for Dyson to try and get to the rim. And when it pops off, Onyeka's right there, snags it, and then is able to go up strong with his sort of a hook shot. And like I said, I think he's playing a lot bigger than what he's listed. I think 6'8" is probably what he's at. But he didn't look like that tonight. He looked like a true 7-footer with the way he dominated the glass. Again, anytime there was some sort of cross match, I mean, it was just 2 points for the Hawks. Phoenix is not disciplined. They didn't do anything to prevent these sort of mismatches happening on the glass. Here, Phoenix has two bigs on the floor, so they have KD here, and they have Mason Plumlee. And when the shot goes up, Mason Plumlee is, again, nowhere near the big on the floor. And Onyeka is able to try and tap it in. It doesn't end up making it. But like there were just some strange misses from Trae and like kind of just unfortunate. Like I really like this move that he does right here. Freezes everyone. Book's expecting help. It doesn't come. And he goes with his inside hand, left hand layup. Kind of just kisses off, but again, Onyeka's right there. Smokes the first one, but gets it back. And I think it's important that guys can just get the ball on the glass sometimes, especially for Trae. Like his finishing will kind of be determined by how like committed the rim protector is, just because of his size and his strength. So this is a nice little wrinkle to the way they start this offensive possession. So it's a go screen from Trae. As Dyson gets downhill, Tyus Jones is lost. So here comes Onyeka with the step up screen. Trae, he ends up slipping it because there's no need. He already has to step on Tyus. Trae gets in the meat of the defense, goes with the floater. Again, it rolls off. Here's Onyeka on the glass, taps it over. So I think one thing about Onyeka, yes, he is a little bit undersized, but he gets off the floor really quickly. He can get off it, and his second jump is quick as well. So he beats Mason to the spot. He's able to tip it out of his hands, rebounds off the glass. I think if you get shoved with both hands in the middle of a putback opportunity, it should be 3 free throws. But A really strong finish from Onyeka here with, again, Mason is fully shoving him. He has two hands on his chest and he's pushing him out. And Onyeka's able to finish that. I think he played a real grown man game tonight. Something the Hawks really desperately needed with their most physical player off the floor. Again, now this is something where like there is no better opportunity to shoot a three than off an offensive rebound because the defense is often out of position and you're generally going to get a wide open shot. But it's even better in transition where Phoenix, again, is disorganized. They have three guys in the paint and they still don't get this rebound. Onyeka just is able to snag it over Oso. He reads where the balance of the floor is. You have four Phoenix guys here. Veet slides into the open crease, and he knocks down the open three. This is a huge momentum swing for the game as well. Like the building popped alive, and I thought that was a really crucial play. Let's look at another offensive rebound here. Again, the dude had 10, which is ridiculous. This one kind of hurt, only because right after this play, Trae had a really nice pass on Onyeka that he ended up fumbling a little bit. He was also able to rebound his own misses pretty well. So, he kind of smokes this jump stop into a hook here. I just think he didn't get enough lift, and it kind of just bangs off the bottom of the backboard. I think maybe Mason may have got a piece of it too. But that was his 9th offensive rebound, and then ended it closing it out. Again, just get it on the glass. Just get it somewhere where, and this is why, again, it's so important to do against a team like Phoenix because they don't have anyone else who can secure this rebound or have any sort of ability to impact Onyeka around the rim. If you can draw KD out, particularly, which is what the Hawks did here, they're able to get that mismatch. Trae's able to get past them with the speed. Here's the hesitation, gets downhill. KD's beat at this point, but Trae just knows he just needs to get it off the glass. Even with the way that he shot this and the way he's looking at the ball, I don't think he ever intended for this to actually go in. I think he wanted to get it somewhere within Onyeka's vicinity. So I think that's a really heads-up play from Trae, and just a really good recognition of Phoenix's biggest problem areas with Nurkic on the bench, but just in general, like this team just doesn't have the requisite secondary rim protection to make any sort of a difference without that dude on the floor. Defensively, I think he was really good too. We look at some of the blocks, the misses, and all that. There was one particular thing I think. I always love the way he can move his feet. So here he's involved initially on this primary action, which is in drop coverage against Book. So he shows there, and then watch how quickly he gets back to Oso, how mobile he is, forcing him to pick up his dribble, not really look towards the basket, and then he cuts off Grayson here on the street to the basket and immediately recovers back to Oso and then forces a miss by catching him off balance. So really good movement from him on both ends. Offensive glass was really strong, but I think in general he just brings a level of defensive versatility that the Hawks have not seen for a while in the Trae Young era. I just saw a graph. Actually, I can try and pull it up right now so I don't say the wrong information. Yeah, so this graph is basically intended to identify teams that use the most aggressive and variable coverages. So how often are you switching up your coverages during the game? Miami leads in variability, so they're pretty unpredictable with the type of coverages they throw out. But right behind Miami, you have Utah, OKC, Phoenix, and Atlanta. And the Hawks were a very predictable defensive team for a long time because they had to cover up some of the defensive deficiencies. They have real defenders. They've been able to throw out different looks at teams. And it's definitely helped with their overall defensive process. And Onyeka is a big part of that because so many teams were in heavy pick and roll that you got to be able to have different ways to respond to those types of actions. And I think he just brings a level of versatility that Clint at this point just doesn't have at this point in his career. Onyeka, a little bit closer to the ground. He has a lower center of gravity, so he can get low, he can shuffle, he can move his feet, which means you can be a little bit more aggressive with him. I love how Dyson is very opportunistic with when he decides to dig. So he knows that Mason doesn't have a good handle on this ball, so he's able to get his hand on it, knock it free, and then Onyeka does the same thing. You can see he gets full ball right here and turns into a turnover. That's the other thing about Phoenix. They turn the ball over a lot in this particular game. A lot of it, some of it was the Hawks, but some of it was also unforced. That was a bad pass. Let's see what else we have here. Yeah, I think in general, like he was able to keep Phoenix out of their, keeping Osa from rolling too far to the rim, but then also he was able to hit these sort of fader or sorry, not faders, but floaters in college. I think this is a slick little move from Onyeka here to sort of throw him off his balance. Doesn't necessarily impact the shot, but just something for him to think about. Nice play. I think here you're gonna see him bounce around a little bit. I do think part of like Phoenix didn't miss a lot of shots, and I think they probably were capable of hitting. Um, let's see, one more defensive possession. But what I did like about the Hawks, now Kevin Durant was doing Kevin Durant things in the third quarter. Um, there's only so much that you can hope to contain him, just because he's that level of a shot maker. I thought the Hawks were much better in the fourth quarter at forcing him into not being able to just operate out of his favorite areas and kill us with his pull up scoring. And so he actually did not take a shot the final 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Hawks were very aggressive defending him. You could see beats on the ball, but Onyeka commits to showing help in the lane, forces a kick out to, again, a player I really, really like that I really want to succeed, unless he's playing the Hawks. But the smart play here is to funnel the passes away from Phoenix's most talented shot makers into guys like Ryan Dunn. He's not able to knock the shot down. And then good activity here by Beat, staying active and contesting without fouling, forcing this into a tougher floater over the outstretched contest. So I thought that was pretty good. Defensive reps near the end of the game at the point where the Hawks had, pretty much wrapped it up, but you want to make sure you take care of business in these types of situations. Now, with some of that Onyeka praise out of the way. Oh, actually, no. There is a particular play I want to highlight. I asked him about this after the actually wait, I don't even know if they counted this as an assist. I don't think they count this as assist because of the way that Dyson dribbled. But I asked him about this play after the game because I was like, you know, let's make sure I get the right one. Is this it? Oh man, they cut it. That's unfortunate. Wait. Yeah, so I actually don't think it was I see. Okay, this is in the fourth quarter. So Onyeka made this skip to Bogey, I think, not Dyson. I thought he made it to Dyson, but he actually passed it to Bogey. But basically he was running some sort of action on this side of the court with Veet. And then as he pivoted, he was kind of left alone by Oso. He read where KD was and fired it to Bogey, which demands a closeout because of the type of shooter that Bogey has as a reputation. And so KD fully commits. And as he's able to drive this closeout, then Dyson is able to again get KD to fully commit and do a nice calm little dribble pull up for a wide open three. And this is the type of stuff that you get when you have a when you have a more versatile center who's reading the floor. Because he told me he didn't remember this play, probably because I told him he passed it to Dyson. But I think the way I sort of took it as he's reacting in real time. So he's not making predetermined reads. It's more so like, okay, I have the ball on this side of the floor. It's the weak side. If I reverse it, it's going to force it a direct closeout because that's Bogdan Bogdanovic. He's wide open with the way that KD was facing him. Okay, then now we can play out of that. So I think that was a good sign of his growth as like a potential dribble handoff hub, and the things that he's looking for on a play-by-play basis. Even with as good of a game as he played, I do want to highlight one thing that a bit of a point of frustration for me, and I was worried that he did this early to start the game because I was just like, dang, bro, like this is the type of stuff I really want you to be a little bit more aggressive at. I think Trey mentioned, like, just in general, like guys being a little bit more aggressive and how that can help them. And Quinn has made points in the past about, not taking open shots is like extremely detrimental. It's really a turnover. Um, it's just kind of like just play bigger, like. And I understand his size limitations at times, but um, KD obviously is super strong guy for his frame, and like he has the length, but like go through his chest here. Don't um, he didn't create enough horizontal pushback against KD here, and it makes it a tougher shot. And this is the one where I was like, all right, like I need you to just be a big man. Um, this is too much of a runway to not put KD through the rim, or at least go up a lot more aggressively. Like pump faking here is not something I'm a fan of. As the center on the floor, like make KD have to commit to you as a shot blocker, not um, sort of allowing him to play you like you're a below the rim finisher, because that's not what Onyeka is. And if he goes up strong here, it's a very high chance it's a foul or a dunk. And we've seen him like power dribble up. Like that's not Victor Wembanyama. That's not Rudy Gobert. That's 36-year-old Kevin Durant. Again, a very great player, very elite player, someone who I really enjoy and respect. But I think those types of finishes are just some of the Hawks need to get a little bit more consistently from their bigs, because it can be very frustrating at times. And so let's move on to Trae, because I thought this was maybe his best offensive game of the season scoring the ball. And the crazy thing is, like I said, I think he could have and should have went for 50 with the way that his shots were rimming out. Um, this is bro. This is his first shot of the game. First shot of the game gets KD on switch. Sorry. Um, Dribbles, and also, by the way, I feel like anytime he fades into this right corner, it's money. Creates this separation with the step back to his right. Look how close KD's hand is to the ball, and it's still money right over him. I think at this point we should have known what type of game he had ready for us. And it was really important that he had this type of scoring outburst, because again, you don't have Jalen Johnson, you don't have DeAndre Hunter. That's 20 points per game off the floor. Bogut did not have a good game. Clinton didn't have a good game. Reese Shea didn't have a good offensive game. So the scoring had to come from somewhere, and Trae definitely showed up in that respect, which is super, super important for this team. On a night-to-night basis, where he's trying to find that balance between scoring and playmaking, but particularly in a situation like this where you're missing the jelly to his peanut butter. So I think the high volume 3-point shooting is really exciting, and I think it's something that he's going to continue building on, and it's going to continue to make him more dangerous. So he mentioned in the presser as well that teams are starting to play him as a passer more. And I think that's part of the reason why he can sometimes pick up his dribble. So I really didn't feel like I saw Trae do this a lot in like the earlier years of his career, but he's picked up his dribble and been more of a more telegraphing, I guess, like more in terms of his passing. But what it's done is I think it's sometimes like fooled guys into playing him as a passer first, forgetting that you have both Phoenix guys turn their back on him, uh, 30 feet from the basket. And also, another like non-Hawks related note: Bradley Beal's body language was awful all night, all night. Just watch him here. Uh, yeah, just watch him is awful all night. So yeah, I think that that's the benefit of really embracing playmaking as your prerogative. Then when teams decide to play as a playmaker and you have the scoring and shooting ability to make them pay, it becomes a lot much easier for someone like Trae. Um, we know the mid-range and Florida game is money. Hasn't been on par to like his previous seasons, but I think it's coming back a little bit. Uh, let's see with this play. I believe this is just a standard screen and roll. I love when he gets into this decel. So Brad is trailing. He doesn't want to foul here because Trae has a proclivity to sort of go straight up and draw that foul. So he looks off Clint here, pass fake, freezes Mason. Brad jumps back to Clint because he thinks that the pass was coming there, and he just goes straight up. And he even got slapped on the knee there and knocked it down. I think Trae's one of those guys where you watch his game in slow mo, it's even more impressive. Here's just a quick read with the way that Oso's playing him. Oso is not the level of the screen. Great screen from Clint here. Brad gets lost, and he's just going to get straight into that jumper. And I think, again, a high volume three-point shooting Trae is really, really important for this team, not just because we don't have consistent shooters, but because it's honestly with the way that his frame is one of his most reliable ways of scoring. Here's what I was talking about in terms of like putting Ryan Dunn in jail. So Dunn gives up the baseline, which you can't do with 3 seconds left. The way he opened his body, just opened it up. Maybe he's trying to funnel into help. Slick little grab there by Trae. And then he goes straight up, finishes through the contact. This is a tough finish with his offhand and a 6'8" defensive dynamo draped all over him, falling down to the floor, throws up with his left hand, knocks it down. Tough shot. He hit a lot of those with those being tough shots. Again, some of the playmaking wizardry here. I think it's hilarious that he can make these behind the back fakes to seemingly nobody, but obviously like they have no visibility on who he could be doing it to. Also is not in position to help. Goes up, knocks down the layup. Let's see. Again, here's just. I really think Onyeka's rescreening and just overall innate screening ability is so impactful for this team. Like, okay, he sees that Royce is kind of able to negate this advantage a little bit. That's a nice slip of the screen by him. He decides he wants to go over it, and then changes his mind when he sees the way that the screen's angled, slips under, able to get back in front of Trae. Trae resets the play. Here comes Onyeka. This time he's able to create good contact. Now Royce is trailing. There's nothing he can do in this situation. That's 2 points. I believe this is the reset. Yeah, so here Trae goes for a pull-up two. It's about 6 minutes in the game. And the Hawks are tied at 1-on-1. Notice that Plumlee comes over to help, but he's not really doing anything. Again, there's no one on this Phoenix floor that can help on the glass. Ball gets popped up by Clint. Dyson's the first to it. There's 3 sons around him. He gets to it first. Checks first. I think this is Vit Krejci out here. Checks the Vit's there. Or sorry, it's Garrison Matthews. And then immediately sees Trae wide open in the corner. And he's not going to miss a catch and shoot corner 3. Let's see if we can. I think the next shot. Again, he can look at that decel. Okay, here in this situation, Ryan Dunn has the length to block him from behind if he goes for a floater. So instead, he gathers left step. Of course, typically if you're shooting a left-handed layup or you're from the left side of the basket, you first go with your right and then your left. So here's a little bit, throws off the timing of the defense to gather on his left first. I'm sorry, yeah. Yeah, gather his left first. I guess he does have that, the typical for where you would have going left. I kind of mixed up his feet at first. But it's a different type of timing in the way that he goes up. Like typically it'd be like 1-2 layup. Instead, he goes 1-2, drags out that lat step a little bit, makes it longer. You can see Dunn is anticipating a floater, so he jumps a little bit. He doesn't expect Trae to slow down. That opens up the lane for the layup, and he's able to get it over the outstretched arm because he was able to sell the fake simply by slowing down. Like that's some really nice stuff from Trae here. I think I tweeted out a video of his college film, and it was like, oh, he doesn't play that way anymore. And I think in by some respects, like his finishing isn't as dynamic. Like he had a lot more sort of around the basket or like reverse finishes. But I think the craft is unmatched in terms of like where he was in his earlier days. Like this is such a subtle fake, but it works so well because he's burned Ryan Dunn with the floater before. And so he's just like, I gotta get it. And he just brings it back down. He's like, oh, wait, he's going to a layup. And then, of course, that's without even mentioning what he's doing to Mason Plumlee here, who is already heading back to Clint Capella, anticipating the shot going up or a lob, and opens up the layup. So, yeah, it is not easy to defend Trae Young. And here you get the dagger. I think Miss Jamila asked him about this shot, like just in terms of Bradley Beal giving him a lot of space. And this is where he mentioned like he thinks guys are playing him as a passer a little bit more, which has opened up some shots. Brad sags back like he's not guarding the best long range 3-point shooter in the NBA. It's a quick step back to his left, and Trae drills this from the logo, back of his right foot on that Black Hawks logo. And at this point, I was like, yeah, Hawks taking this one for sure. Really nice step back. Brad can't do anything about it. Knocks it down. Big game from Trae Young. I think I do want to show you guys just some of the foul drawing. I know that maybe that may not be everyone's favorite thing to watch. I can understand why it can be frustrating, even if you are a fan of basketball or the Hawks in particular. But foul drawing is a skill. The Hawks are really reliant on Trae's ability to draw fouls, especially without Jalen Johnson on the floor. He's the only other guy who puts pressure on the rim like that and can generate those types of opportunities for the Hawks. Being in the bonus is really important. It's about 2+ points to your offensive rating, or 2+ points per 100 possessions. And again, for a team like the Hawks that can struggle offensively, being able to generate these types of opportunities is really important. These are the types of calls the NBA said they weren't going to call, but I mean, with the way that they were giving the Suns a lot of their calls, I think this was acceptable for this to be called in this particular game. I think it's going to differ by crew, but yeah, they were pretty liberal with their whistle. So we showed this and one floater a little bit earlier. Wait, yeah, we did, and yeah, I think Phoenix guards had a lot of issues trying to contain him. Here we see that same rescreen. I think that in a lot of ways, Onyeka isn't just a more versatile guy in terms of his pick and roll defense or his shooting ability, his finishing ability. It's also uh, how quickly he can play off of Trae. So again, there's no separation generated from that first screen. Mason's still deep in the paint, and so when Trae reverses, boom, a little bit more separation. Book is now off balance. He's draped all over Trae, and that's an easy way for Trae to generate free throws. Let's see, we can have one more example. I think he just got intentionally fouled here. So I want to run through just a couple of miscellaneous clips right after we look at what Shea did tonight. So with it's always going to be hard to guard someone like Kevin Durant, and I think for Shea it was a tough one, but he started off pretty well. As I walked into the arena, and KD and Shea run down the floor, and I was like, wow, like these dudes don't look that much different in terms of size. Obviously, KD's is maybe an inch. I'd say probably like 2 inches taller, but Shea was able to give him a little bit of problems with his length, and then again, like his defensive principles aren't all there yet. Like he kind of loses KD here on the screen, but he has just a little bit to bother him. KD was scoreless for the first 6 minutes. A lot of that was Shea's ability to contest him. So here, obviously, man, Kevin Durant is so tough. And like I said, in that third quarter, he went absolutely nuclear. This is just a one dribble pull up to his left. But notice that Shea is able to get a pretty decent contest without jumping. Like, I think you don't want to foul, but like if there was I think like he's one of the guys that could block a KD mid range. And I thought in general, he was able to give him a little bit of a fit in terms of showing him some size. And then here he gets hung up a little bit on the screen, but Mason Plumlee is so engaged with him, and Shea is able to stay attached that Capella is able to step up and make this a tough shot for Kevin Durant. He does eventually start to get to the free throw line, and again, like Kevin Durant is just. I was in the building when he gave us 54, I think, on the Nets. I started to get flashbacks to that in that third quarter. Sometimes guys are just really talented shot makers. I think what was really encouraging by Shea, he was able to withstand the physicality from KD. So KD would try and back him down. KD would bump him off. I don't think a lot of these are fouls. Like you could maybe talk about landing space. I think KD has especially when he's going over his shoulder, he's going to drift a little bit. There's only so much you can do as a defender. Like I don't know how else you're supposed to contest him. Hand in his face without jumping. Again, like trying to do whatever you can to not foul. They end up calling on him there. It's always tough as a rookie. Like you're not going to get the whistle you deserve to. It's just part of it. Let's look at again where KD's kind of getting more downhill. I'm not seeing Ricochet being bumped off his spot. Very encouraging. This is still a super young guy, still putting on a lot of weight for his frame, and he's able to take that from Kevin Durant. Again, let's watch it one more time. Downhill 1, 2. There's a bump. Ricochet still attached. Here's another bump. Ricochet is still attached, and that's a very tough. Why does his hand? Oh, his hand looked kind of crazy for a second, but that's a tough shot. Um, I think all you can do is ask him to make him work and try and do as best as he can to cut off that first move. So here's that pick and roll again. I think he ends up rejecting it here. Ricochet is able to match him. He's on his hip, spin move. That's where he wants to shoot it, right? But you can see that Ricochet's hand is right here. He's able to get it inside and sort of just throw off the timing a little bit, close that gap with that wingspan, prevent himself from fouling, and then this is just a ridiculously tough shot from a like an all-time great. So I think obviously there's a saying like great defense with better offense. I think stylistically and in terms of like the way he was able to make KD work, you can't really ask for better defense from your rookie against Kevin Durant. There were some times I felt like KD got. In general, I think Ricochet would get better at this. He was better overseas, but he's got to be able to fight through these a little bit more consistently. I thought this was going to be a beautiful move from KD, so he uses that hang dribble. Also, notice that Ricochet gets back into the picture here pretty quickly. But as KD goes into that snake dribble, Hawks collapse on him, slow down the timing a little bit, and that allows Clint to get up to the shot. It's a pretty strong defensive possession. Again, man, like the dude's just hard to guard without fouling. I don't really think there's much here. They were kind of getting touch fouls all night. I guess the hand in the back, it's not really that much of a contact. And then, yeah, it just gives him baseline. I just don't think there's a lot of mistakes in this film. Like a lot of his tough shot making here. Obviously, you don't want to give up the baseline. He's probably anticipating some help here from Clint. Clint probably should be a little bit lower. And then yeah, this is the last. No, the last one is after this. And the other issue too is like you want to contest him so bad but he's such a great contested shot maker that you foul him, it's going to be an and one, and that's really brutal. And I don't think this was a foul in real time. I didn't think so. You can tell me if you think it is. Hand sometimes refs will call hand as part of the ball. I don't really think this impacts the shot at all. I think the leg to leg contact doesn't help. I think KD also yelled when he shot this. Hey man, this is a great contest from your rookie. Again, you can't ask for much better. So I as much as he has like he needs to be better as an offensive player, but I thought what we've seen from him defensively is pretty special for his age. And obviously, like it's not always going to be fair against, or you're not always going to be rewarded for great effort against a guy like Kevin Durant. It's just very. I can only imagine how demoralizing it is to play great defense and then something like that happens. So let's look at some situational stuff outside of the players before we wrap up. Second quarter, the Hawks came out in a zone, which I thought was interesting to say the least. I don't understand why this is doing this. Well, yeah, we'll just start here and kind of like move through these clips. So I'll talk a little bit about how it felt like the Suns just weren't really making shots. So the Hawks came out in a zone, which was really interesting, especially in these lineups without Kevin Durant. There's kind of like a lack of shooting on the floor outside of, obviously Tyus Jones is a capable guy, but there's not a lot of like getting down to the rim and really forcing defenses into rotation. So you can sort of, outside of Devin Booker, you can sort of live with the zone. And the Hawks were able to run this down to the very end of the shot clock before Phoenix did end up scoring here on a Ryan Dunn, sort of slipping the screen. But then David Roddy had himself a couple interesting possessions and pretty impactful possessions, and as the small ball five in the zone. So here, Tyus Jones, you're gonna watch David Roddy bail out from Ryan Dunn. This is the type of strategy you need to employ against a team like Phoenix, like really trying to force to feed the ball into like the less capable shooters. You see two Hawks fly at Tyus Jones. David Roddy's in rim protection mode, and he's actually able to get this ball and knock it out of bounds. Big play from big body Roddy. I think he also was able to force this cutting layup as well. So here he loads up. He played small ball center in college, so maybe this is why he was so effective. Um, Again, he has the weight of a center, not necessarily the height, but these were good defensive minutes from him. He was able to force a miss from Mason Plumlee. And again, you just have to get by in these non-trade minutes. We're not, or like the minutes with the bench on the floor. We're not asking like to be world beaters. Just don't kill the Hawks. I think I want to talk a little bit about or show this play from Dyson. Maybe it's an Australian guard thing, but they're like kind of obsessed with finesse finishing. Like I would love for him to be a little bit more assertive around contact. Like I love the way he loaded up. Okay, look, this is what we've been looking for. Like go up strong, force defenses to really try and contest you at the rim. But he sort of just bails out and ends up bailing Mason Plumlee out by bringing the ball back down, and not forcing that contact, which could have probably been a foul call if he didn't do that. One of my pet peeves from NBA teams is this idea of, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, this conceding guard to guard switches really easily. Unfortunately, we don't have the full clip, but you can see like Tyus Jones setting a screen on Dyson Daniels. I'd rather let him fight through that. Like have Garrison try and show. Now, Devin Booker didn't do anything on this possession, but I just think it's a trend that the Hawks should try and do, like not try and do as much as they can. Just because the consequences of doing those guard to guard switches is unfortunate. This was a beautiful move from Dyson. I have to highlight it. He just completely fries Kevin Durant here. So ball's in his left hand. He gathers here at the free throw line, brings it right over. Again, I love these unorthodox finishes by the Hawks. It's just everything but the finish. Everything but the finish. And unfortunately, Onyeka wasn't able to finish it off either. Bogey had himself a weird game. It was honestly really frustrating to watch at times. He was over dribbling a lot. He passed up some shots. Somehow ended up a plus in the plus minus. Like he finished at plus 11, despite the fact that he shot 3 of 13, and was really just not necessarily good by any stretch of the imagination. But I highlighted this play in my notes because I was like, I don't understand why he's over dribbling so much, and I also don't understand why this is the shot he ends up taking, fading away from the basket instead of taking this one or kicking out to the corner or taking this one. Instead of going straight up, he is drifting to the left. Yeah, kind of a head scratching game from him. And I don't even want to talk about the defense because it was even more frustrating. I love when V is able to not have to be the guy running the show as a backup point guard because he's such a great complementary offensive player. He just finds creases. Devin Booker is not aware of where he is at all. He's lost. And V's able to slice right to the rim. Let's see. A little bit later in this quarter, I believe it is here. Or is it here? Oh, yeah. So I love seeing the Hawks scramble out of these situations. So I believe that this started, again, unfortunately, we don't have a clip from here. I believe Trae was on Mason Plumlee, and they were able to scram out of it and put Reza Shea on him. So love seeing that from the Hawks. Then Trae ends up forcing a turnover when he picks up Devin Booker. Runs at him. I don't even know if he got a hand on it. Let's see. Quick stuff from the third quarter. Yeah, I've said multiple times in the pod, like aggressive Dyson is really important for this Hawks team, especially when he has a mismatch like Tyus Jones is taking advantage of that. Again, the lack of rim protection within Phoenix's interior is getting high off the glass. Love to see that. I did talk a little bit about the benefit of Trae picking his dribble up and playing more as a passer, but I do feel like sometimes he does it a little bit too much or like telegraphs a little bit too much. Um, Especially in scenarios like these, like it's just too easy for defenses to read and pick off. I would just love for him to keep this. Like I don't really see the point in him picking the ball up here. Like you're too deep within the defense to do this and get a pass off unless it's to Shea here, which would have been the correct pass if you are going to do this, in my opinion. On the next offensive possession, just another example of the Hawks not going up with the ball when they need to. Not a terrible decision from Shea here, but I would just love for him to look to shoot off of the short roll. And if the worry is getting too deep, then slow the roll a little bit so you're not so deep when you catch it. But I would love to see him put this right up over Mason or pump fake, dump it off the Clint Capella instead of doing like this like inside out type thing, especially with the type of shooters we have on the floor. See if I think I have another example of a scram switch. Hopefully we have the full clip. The NBA keeps these so low. So yeah, here's a great example of what the Hawks are actively doing, and I love seeing this. So here's a screen where they're trying to generate a mismatch with Trae Young on Kevin Durant. Beats like, yo, I got him. I'll get you out of here. Trae busts his ass, gets back out to Ryan Dunn. And so now, Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant. He's going to make this 2 points despite the scram switch, but it's a little bit tougher as opposed to it being a pretty much automatic bucket. Let's see. This was a little frustrating. The Hawks, they want to double. They want to double KD. It's hard to double someone who's been doubled so many times before, especially Roddy allows Mason Plumlee to get position here, and Onyeka is not blocking any passing lanes. And so here comes the pass around, and it's an and one. If you're going to double, it needs to be more aggressive. Hands need to be high here. You need to try and force KD to put the ball on the floor as much as possible, and David Roddy has to engage with Mason Plumlee earlier. Let's see. Yeah, I think that was just. I think I have another example with just Trae picking a dribble up somewhere. Is it here? Yeah, I think it's this play right here. Yeah, it's just like I would just like him to be a little bit more decisive when he does decide to do that. He still demands a lot of attention, regardless. Bogey floats into open space, but not great. Fourth quarter, there was a very frustrating bogey sequence. I was not sure we were going to win the game anymore after you did this. Hold on 1 second. It's hard to tell from this angle, but from where I was sitting in the arena, Dyson's not going towards the basket. He's going towards the left. And I think that's kind of throwing off his timing. Even when Bogey's not playing great, you can see just how much having a secondary creator helps this Hawks bench. This is really slick for him. So he goes, basically he's going up for the floater and then just wraps it around the rookie big man. Nice play. Onyeka finishes. Yeah. So all in all, very excited the Hawks were able to win. This Phoenix team is not good enough to have beat us, to have split the series with them, regardless of us being injured. And obviously, like this benefits to playing at home versus being in being in Phoenix. But I do think that this Phoenix team is probably a lot worse than people may have imagined. I had high hopes from them coming to the season. I felt like Coach Bud was going to get them to embrace shooting threes. They were able to have like, but I sort of underestimated how bad they would be defensively, especially in the center with some regression from KD as a rim protector. And a lot of their flaws are things that the Hawks actively attack, which is like Trae's burst off the dribble, being able to space out guys with Bogey, Garrison Matthews, and then attacking in the middle of the paint, where the Hawks are one of the most prolific paint scoring teams in the NBA. So they were able to hit on a lot of their key indicators for wins, which is winning the glass, winning the free throw battle, winning the turnover battle, and winning the paint battle. And so they were able to sort of outlast the outlier shot making from what Kevin Durant was able to do. So yeah, we got the Chicago Bulls up uh, tonight in Chicago. So another back-to-back with travel. Chicago did play yesterday as well. So I think they ended up losing to New Orleans. So maybe it motivated Chicago Bulls team that's been a little bit better as of late. Lonzo Ball has been an impactful guy. I'm very happy for him, but hopefully it's as impactful against the Hawks this upcoming game. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let me know if there's any questions or anything along those lines, and make sure you like, subscribe, continue adding the show, continue listening, and then I'll see you after the Bulls game. Y'all be safe.